So, hey guys, I'm here with Stephen Craven, who joined my program, maybe 6 weeks ago?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, max
about
6 weeks.
max 6 weeks ago. And Stephen's been, it's a bit of a unique situation because he joined probably when the coronavirus was just kind of hitting the news in China, maybe.
Yeah.
And, a lot's happened since you joined us, mate. And I remember
Just a
yeah,
bit.
I'm still in shock, really. And by the way,
Yeah.
I'm recording this in my home, and there's likely going to be some kids running around making a lot of noise. So just bear with me if they're interrupting us. But yeah, I just wanted to, talk to you a little about your story, Stephen. Maybe even pre-agency, and
Yeah.
I don't. How old are you now?
34.
34. Okay. So tell us a bit about your professional history, I guess, and what you were doing before you got into marketing, or have you been in marketing your whole life?
Most of my career, by accident, I think, really. I went to university at Sheffield to study business and marketing, Sheffield Hallam.
Yeah.
And I was in a fortunate position that my mother is super experienced, very high level salesperson, worked for, if you remember, Time, Gateway Computers back in the day, worked for Orange, the mobile phone provider, and then started working for Sun Microsystems that then got purchased by Oracle, and went working for Oracle as a very high level sales executive. So I always had an interest in tech and always had cut my teeth in sales during my career. But knew I wanted to go and study business, and was doing some work in a big company in Manchester City Centre. I live in the northwest of England. And the stuff that I was learning at university at that time, so we're going back, what now, 20 years, no less, 15 years-ish. It wasn't really digital focused. The university course wasn't digital focused. There was a module added to it that was digital marketing. Everything else was very traditional marketing theory and marketing practices. I wasn't enjoying it. I was working summers and holidays in an 8-figure business in Manchester City Centre with 500 staff, thousands and thousands of clients. Not in a digital marketing space. It was in an insurance space, actually. And they sort of said, look, you've got an aptitude for it. Why don't you get a job with us? So I, at sort of 18, about, and they were flabbergasted and shocked. I was the first of our family to go to university. But they said, okay, do that if you want to do it. So I dropped out in the summer and was due to start work at this company full-time in September. And they went belly up in August of that year. So I dropped out of uni, cancelled my university degree, cancelled my accommodation. They dropped and this job just didn't exist anymore. It was a great job for a 19-year-old, but yeah, it didn't exist. So I had to go scrabbling to try and find some work, and ended up in the marketing department of a bookmakers called Betfred, which is the biggest independent bookmaker in the UK. They have, at the time, they had 1,000 or more retail outlets, retail spaces, and we're moving into digital. Started working there in like customer support, very quickly managed to get onto the marketing team there. And within 4 years was handling a £100 million a year budget for print marketing. So we were working with obviously all the big newspapers, and the digital team started growing alongside my career there. Young guys straight out of uni who had done the same or done the same course as me, focused on their digital element, and then looked to try and get roles in that space. Got onto the graduate program at Betfred, and I just sat there and soaked up everything that I could from those guys. The print stuff was, super easy. It was something that was not that difficult to do, but got us loads of business at that time. But soaked up some info from those guys around email, display, and the sorts of marketing which were prevalent at that time. And that's what started me off. I then left there, hit a glass ceiling within 4 years. We couldn't go any further. It was jobs for the boys in that type of industry, very corporate. You couldn't get much further than I had done. So when sort of looking for new roles, found marketing agencies, jotted around a couple, got headhunted for a few, based on my expertise. I was combining sales and a marketing sort of execs role. So going out and winning business and then managing campaigns for clients, which set me up really well for my continued career, obviously. And then fast forward to where we are now, we've got Clicks into Customers, which is our brand in the UK. And we work across a couple of verticals, small team, 5 full-time staff, and then 6 contractors. And we work across, like I say, a couple of niches. Historically, up until January of this year, or February of this year, I should say, in the very traditional retainer space, Google, Facebook, copy, video, content. We do, what I'd class as a full service agency, and do really well. We've got a great name, really well known in our particular vertical, which is our biggest vertical at this time, which is fitness. Obviously, current events are really taking a kick in that industry. We are, and the industry is not just us. But really good name in there. Worked in that space for 6 or 7 years. Got some great partnerships with the governing bodies, with some of the big training providers, the technology suppliers into the space, and the education suppliers into the space, as well as helping independent brands and some of the bigger brands as well support their lead generation and sales generation efforts. That's kind of what we're known for. Always generated clients organically really well, great paid funnels for it, and done some really good stuff. But the pains that you talked about in your content, Dan, resonated with me. I probably started following your content middle of 2019, I think. And the pains of retainer contracts and picking the wrong clients and not really them seeing the benefit in what you're doing, and that continually descending point to where someone at one part of the relationship gets pissed off, excuse my French, and it just ends up being a relationship which more often than not was getting to the point where we do 6 months, 12 months, whatever it would be, and then it'd just be a case of, right, we're going to take it in house. And it just never seemed like something that I could grow past a certain point. We'd do 30, 40K a month, roughly, in retainer contracts into the fitness industry. But a decent sized business with very small overheads, and a very good rep, as I said. But I knew there was an opportunity to do more, and I just didn't know exactly what that was. And that's when your content started sort of being shown to me, and I started spending some time looking into the PPL model. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think people hit a ceiling when it comes to the size of their team and how many retainer clients they have, right? So you hit 30, 40K a month, which is, excellent. A lot of people would be, really happy to be at that type of level. But what, we found, and in fact, we never even got to that level as a retainer agency. We found it got really hard to kind of, and maybe because you were just in one vertical, it was a little bit easier because you could rinse and repeat. But I found like it was just a never-ending cycle of kind of starting with clients, losing clients, getting another client, hiring more staff, the more people you get on, and just spinning the wheels. So I can understand the challenges that you had and why the kind of content that I was putting out rang true. So that's great. So tell us a bit about, what happened when you joined us, and you don't have to give too many specifics to what industry or whatever, it's up to you. But tell me kind of what happened and, what you're seeing now and what the results have been like.
Sure. So I'm quite fortunate that during my career, I had probably a 2 or 3 year window where I was outperformed by my staff into a very business development and networkers role where I didn't have to spend that much time in the office. So I created, over the course of a year, I probably went on 4 meetings a day, which were just general networking meetings. It wasn't a sales-based meeting. It was just meet people, network, grow a network, become friendly with people, try and offer our support. And what that allowed me to do is take some and get some really good friends more than anything, but also peers in particular verticals. So at the point of when we joined the Flexxable Mastermind, we looked at, and I looked at my existing network, and I know the chap who runs the biggest aggregator for car leasing in the UK. I know him personally, met him, we worked with him before, great guy. And I know a couple of guys in other financial product spaces who I could go to and pick the brain. And that was all I did was before we actually even joined the course, before I'd actually paid you any money, I'd made sure I'd spoke to those guys and had got an idea of where I wanted to go. And then once we'd settled on, I had two verticals in mind, one in the car and the automotive space, as you can probably guess from the chap that I mentioned, and then the other was in another financial product. And I decided that I wanted to go down the route less trodden at the moment, but that had higher potential for yield. Not that the car and the automotive finance space is crowded, but it seems that there's lots of people cropping up, and whether they last is subjective, but it seemed like the path less trodden would be one that would last us longer and serve us better. And the potentials to earn were much higher. So we went down this particular path. I am used to investing in myself and in the business. My unsticking, I would say, or the reasons I've probably not made the most out of mentorship that I've had in the past is from wanting to put my own spin on something. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are in the same space where they, have their own take on things. They have their own opinions on things, and they're proud of their knowledge. And sometimes when they're being taught something which is, and I'm sure you take this in the way that it's intended, simplistic in its approach, very, very set in stages and very sort of binary in terms of what you need to do. It's not super, super complex. It's just follow these actions specifically. People try and reinvent the wheel. And I made the decision to not do that with your content and with the Flexxable Mastermind. And that paid dividends. I followed it to the letter, used the templates to the letter. Used
it's just sales, right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Sales outreach. Yeah,
exactly. For our outreach, because that was the thing that I was uncertain about was, look, it's a completely new vertical. You do a very good job of kind of making people feel confident that those sales will come if they follow the process, and you would bang on. I followed the process. I didn't tweak the templates, apart from obviously the specifics that needed to be tweaked. I used a system which did a lot of the heavy lifting for me, which I don't mind sharing in this platform called anyleads.com. I've got no affiliation to it whatsoever. It's just a great program that does a lot of what the course needs you to do for you, does a lot of the heavy lifting. There's not multiple programs to look at, which suited me because I still had a team and
other stuff going on.
Yes, team and clients and what have you. So the fact that it could do a lot of the heavy lifting for me and just send me sales leads off the back end was great.
Explain to me how that works in a 1 minute nutshell. How does anyleads.com work?
Yeah, so it has its own LinkedIn scraping tool built into it. So you do your searches through Sales Navigator. It pulls all of the URLs out. It has its own email verification system built in, verifies the emails exist. And then it has its own SMTP email sequencing attached to it. So it'll do your cold email outreach for you.
Okay.
And
you just plugged our templates into there with the pay-per-lead offer, and it spat out appointments basically.
Yeah, linked up a Google G Suite email account on a burner email address that was similar to the one that we wanted to use, and just fired out 500 emails a day and just started from, right, let's go. Let's just see what happens. And we get a 2% contact rate on those emails. Some of them are, yes, I'm interested. Can you call me at this time? As simple as that. Some of them are, can you give me some more context? Some of them are, I'm not sure. This is a different approach than we've had before. Can you explain to me a bit more? Some of them are, yeah, I'm not interested. That's cool. But you know, just doing the numbers, hitting the numbers. There's a big market for the product that we're looking at. There's lots of companies there. So Any Leads did a lot of the lifting, and literally I'm sat at my desk now. Your sales script is here on my desk.
Nice.
I followed it to the word. And yeah, we generated, obviously with the current economic climate, I've calmed down our sales activity over the last week to 10 days, just because I had my other business to kind of take care of and my other clients to take care of and just consolidate. £28,900 worth of proposals. And we had 50% of them confirmed straight away. And like I said to you at the top of this call before we started recording, what's happened in the current economic climate is the demand for this product has increased, or specifics within the product that we're offering. So some of those guys and some of the guys that we just outreached in that time have come back and picked up the phone and said, look, can we have another discussion about what you're offering us, and can it be specifically around these particular products, because the demand is there. So worked really, really well, and has given us something new and exciting to work on internally. We've gone down the route of building our own brands.
Nice.
Because I just see the value massively. Hopefully someone will just come along and buy it in a year's time, which would be great. A nice exit on a brand that we've built would be lovely. But we've got all the internal staff to be able to build the brand very, very quickly and easily. You know?
Nice.
Graphics, copy.
Nice.
Make it look great. Reads great. I've mentioned these guys to you before, looked at the Dead Happy and the tom.co.uk style of positioning and applied it to our product, because I think it's crying out for something along those lines, much more layman's terms, simplistic, and speaks to the everyman, which is what we've done, and created something which I think looks great, and is resonating really well with our clients and with the campaigns that we started running.
Yeah, nice. Okay, amazing. And tell us a bit about what's happened with the virus and what they've been saying when they've been reaching out to you. So, you know, I mean, we've got some verticals that we're in that have actually said they're going to be increasing orders, and they're going to be actually looking to spend more because the market is just ripe for their particular product at this point in time, product or service. Tell us a bit about how that worked with the subsections within the niche that you're going after. And
so obviously initially with new clients, we took our time in terms of deployment. I wanted to make sure we had all our eggs in a row, all our ducks in a row, and what have you. So my web team and copywriting team went down a particular path of a bit more of a broad spectrum of lead generation for each client. But then the way that I work is in 30-day sprints. So I normally will work on something as the soul or the face of the business to clients for 30 days, then start passing it to the team once I know that it works and we want to implement it long term, and then become completely hands-off in the last 90 days. And we're currently in the middle section of that. So I've done a lot of the account management, campaign build outs, just the sort of back and two between clients, looking at what tech needed, that type of stuff. And now we're sort of building that out with the team. So I was still in the account management role for the clients that we'd won. And what's happened is those guys have picked up the phone and similar to how you've just said, they're like, look, we don't want to take a broad spectrum. We want to go very narrow now and look at particular products that we know there will be an appetite for, and will be useful to the marketplace based on rate changes with the Bank of England in the UK and based on where the current economic climate is. So we've narrowed our scope. We've upped our numbers because specificity obviously means we need to charge more. So we've been able to charge more at that point. And, you know, that again falls into the way that your sales template worked. And I just used the sales call template to, you know, almost to the letter. of saying, all right, look, if we're broad spectrum and it's small amounts of info, we can give you a rate, but if it's more specific, it's going to be more expensive. Those guys all knew that when they picked up the phone and asked me for some very specific types of leads. So we've been able to up what we charge per lead as a result. And yeah, my Google Ads person who works internally in the business has a lot of experience in this sector already, and she freelances for a couple of other clients in the space too. And she's, you know, those guys have gone and put 400% budget in this month for, and they're a household name, but they've 400%.
They've upped it. Wow.
For those particular products that we're looking to offer, for the same reasons, is that they know the demand's there and that they'll make hay at this time. And although I want to be careful around sort of talking about profiteering on other people's suffering and that type of stuff, because that's not what we're doing. The products that we're offering are ones that will only be available to a very small sector of the market, and only if they qualify, they'll get them. So it's not a case of, we're running high interest loans or anything like that. It's not the case. It's products that only a very small percentage of the market will be able to get access to anyway, but they want to change them to either they want to use them for a very particular purpose. So if the demand's there, we need to fulfill it and make sure that those guys are getting the right deal for them, and that's hopefully what we're doing.
Yeah, well, I think it's up to the banks or whoever to lend responsibly. But there is going to be a very large demand for verticals such as, secured loans and unsecured loans and things like that, which are obviously going to have some pretty relaxed payment terms and payment holidays available to them, I would hope, if the banks know what they're doing. They're ethical, right? So
absolutely. And the other thing that we've seen as well is requests for other services off the back of this. So although I don't think that there's necessarily demands for the products like income protection insurance, for example, have been questioned from our clients and from just people that we've got on our list who we've spoken to previously, who maybe not bought from us, but said, look, do you do lead gen for this? I think what we will find in both our verticals, fitness and in these financial products that we're offering lead gen for, is the companies that survive through these times will have a massive amount of opportunity during and after. I know, just in my own personal network of however many people on Facebook, that, the self-employed friends that I have, are crying out for an income protection product which could potentially have helped them at this point. And although the terms on those things, the claims are deferred for 6-8 weeks, is not going to help them right now, but it'll protect them in the future. There'll be an appetite for those products going forward, which only presents further opportunities for guys like us. Yeah.
And I also think, I don't know who you spoke to when you came onto our program. Was it Scott or was it Rob on that?
Rob, he's local to me, Rob. He lives literally up the road.
Yeah, so Rob's actually got 10 years experience working in call centers. And managing big call centers and, 50 staff, and basically taking leads and turning them into, package cases or products, right? So one of the things that we've been helping, and I've just made a few phone calls, my phone's just been ringing as I was on the speaking to you, Stephen, but it's a client where I called him 10 minutes ago and said, listen, I'm looking at, I know you guys are struggling. I know that you probably have some staff that are working from home, and I know that they might have kids, and I know that you're probably going to find it tough to be able to keep the business going in the current environment. Is there something we can do? I actually have a couple of call center staff on my team that might be able to help package up some cases for you, and maybe you could pay us on a per package case rather than on per lead. Is there any way this might be of use to you? Is it going to help you guys? And I think, if you take this approach with a lot of the clients that you're dealing with, not just you, but anyone else out there that's like, oh my God, the shit has hit the fan. we're struggling. My big call center, it's all over the place. Everyone's calling in sick, or no one wants to come into the office anymore. Then it's about finding a solution, and that could be, you know, finding a call, like some people that you know that are good on the phones to team up with. It could be that you want to offer appointments at specific times rather than the leads being called straight away, and you know, into zapping those lead details into an active, what do you call it, active campaign, and a Schedule Once type calendar appointment booking system, which you probably know very well, running personal training type. So all of that stuff is going to help. And I think, you know, pay per lead and helping people in this way is the path of least resistance for a lot of these clients out there that are trying to keep afloat. And I keep on having to remind myself that, you know, no offense, but small businesses like mine and yours with 7 or 8 staff, we're not getting hit anywhere near as hard because, as you said before, our overheads are tiny, and we're going to find a way to add value and to keep things going, as opposed to these businesses that are probably spending, you know, 6-7 figures a month on advertising, and have a sales team, you know, like your 10-figure, 8-figure budget that you were talking about before, client. They're the ones that are going to be really, really hit. And I think there's big opportunity to help them by just being creative and as you say, getting on the phone to your clients and speaking to every single one of them and finding out what that solution to their problem is.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing the right thing just by getting on the phone to these people and tapping up your network. 100%.
Cool. And we've done the same with the email data that we gathered from previous years. I've added another automation into our email sequencing. 2 emails just says, look, with the way that the current industry is, we're getting loads of demand for this particular type of lead. We never really spoke to you about it before. If it's something that will help you out, just give me a call, and I'll put my mobile number on there and say, look, ring me. It may result in nothing. It might result in something, but it's just giving people the opportunity to speak to us about it if they need it.
Yeah. What about your, I mean, are you working with gyms at the moment mainly?
So our other vertical, our traditional retainer vertical was fitness, or is fitness. It's a blend of suppliers into the fitness industry, so education suppliers, training providers, technology suppliers into the industry, and then the industry as a whole. So gyms, studios, some online personal trainers, but only very small numbers of those, although the demand for that has obviously exponentially increased this week. Well, it's exponentially increased this week. Joe Wicks this morning had 800,000 people on a live stream.
I did that.
Did you?
Did that. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
800,000 people on a live stream. I was flabbergasted. And the demand for online training now has probably, that marketplace has moved on 10 years overnight with where we are with gyms closing. So it's a blend of the two. Obviously our studios and our physical facility clients are struggling at the moment. They tend to be quite close to the bone in terms of where they're at for revenue and overheads, a lot of these guys. So taking a 10%, 20%, 30% hit on rev for anyone's hard, but for those guys is super difficult.
Crippling.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've made the commitment to all of our clients that we'll continue to support them, whether they can afford to pay our retainers this month and ongoing or not. We've got clients who will stand by us who are in different financial situations, who will continue to pay us, which is amazing. And we have the other side of the business who are still doing, reasonably well, who we've gone and said to us, look, can you do more work for us at this time? They've supported us in the same way we've supported them, which is great. But those guys need to pivot. We're packaging up product and technology and giving them as much advice as we can on how they can pivot. And we've got some clients doing really, really good stuff. One of our boot camps in the Northwest had, she actually filled Zoom. She had 100 people on Zoom Pro doing one of her online workouts yesterday evening. And they'll continue to survive, and that's all they can do at this point.
Survive and evolve, that's all they can do.
Absolutely.
So I'm part of the group PT in my town in Brighton, and his he's reached out to us personally, set up a call. I pay him per month, but I've paid a year in advance or whatever. So he's got a bit of an obligation to keep helping me, but I think he's going to design I suspect he's going to design a personal training session for me and a program that I can follow over the next few weeks. And he'll probably try and check in and do group, as you say, Zoom type team workouts or whatever. And it's going to be tough for them really, but it's like anything. There will always be something good that comes out of this. They've got to learn about technology and the digital space pretty quickly. Otherwise, they're going to die. And when things get back to normal, they're going to have a whole nother arm to their business. And hopefully the government supports them and helps kickstart them when all of this dies over. Then they're going to be stronger for it. And
hopefully
that's all we can. Yeah, hopefully. There's obviously going to be some that'll fall by the wayside, but we've just got to, treat this as, and I know it's cliche, but treat it as an opportunity to learn and grow, and hopefully we'll come out better.
100%.
What we can do, yeah. But mate, it's been great to hear about your journey and how things are working for you, and I hope that you can continue to work with these clients and add value to them. And I'm sure that you're gonna do pretty well out of it, mate. So thanks for the chat again.
No problem. And just on, I don't know where this is going, whether it's going public or in your mastermind or what have you, but from a personal perspective, like I say, I've invested in my business and my own development a lot over the last few years. And the way that your product has been put forward and the way that it's been marketed, but then also once you're inside, because I think lots of people can market a course really, really well and they can look great from the outside. And a lot of people's trepidation on investing with, these types of courses is
high ticket, right? They're not cheap.
It's not a cheap course. High ticket courses is that suddenly when they get into the meat and veg of it, it doesn't live up to the marketing. And again, I can say hand on heart that the content that you guys have put together and the support package that you guys have put together really does live up to its value. So I applaud you for that. And I appreciate you putting it together.
Thanks, mate. And if I'm up in Manchester, which are you in Manchester, right?
Just outside, just in the Cheshire countryside. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm up in Manchester quite a bit, so we'll have to catch up for a beer when that happens.
100%, mate.
All right, mate. Have a good day. Catch you later.
All the best, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.